Well, what do you know, guys? Jack Posobiec, who is a former intelligence officer, journalist, he's a senior editor of Human Events, he's all over social media, has now come out with a children's book. It's called The Island of Free Ice Cream. And I've really actually been enjoying it. It's very lavishly illustrated. I mean, take a look at the quality of the art. Jack, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me. Let me start by asking you, I mean, this book, you were telling me just a moment ago, is part of a series of books aimed at young people. Who's doing it and what's the sort of series about?
Yeah, let me give you the genesis of it, and of course, thank you so much, and God bless for having me on the show. As everybody knows, huge fan for forever. You know, actually, when I was living in China, I used to have my parents get your books when they would come out, and then ship them over to me because they weren't allowed to actually be put out in China. So I remember, I think I was there when you did the "What's So Great About Christianity" and a couple of the other ones. You know, a long time ago, but just loved them. So we were smuggling them through the Red Wall.
How cool! Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. Just it's cool. Sorry, just being a fanboy a little bit there. And no, but so with the genesis of this, when people reach out to me, and the group that's behind it, they're out of Houston, Texas, so you know they're good, and they're called Brave Books, and that's the only place you can get this series, and it is a series, bravebooks.us. What they're doing is, it's like, here's the situation. Every time you go into a Barnes & Noble or a Books A Million, any one of these mainstream booksellers, you always see that table. They hit you with it when you first walk in. You know exactly what table I'm talking about with the children's books. And every single one of the authors is either an Obama, a Clinton, a Harris, and now a Biden, right? And they're all aimed at children. And so why do I have to walk by this table every single time I come in? And now that I've got a 3-year-old, I've got a 10-month-old, I start thinking about this a little bit more to say, wait a minute, if these are the only things that are out there and they're being promoted so heavily for children, then at some point, maybe he's going to be with a friend and they have something, whatever it is, that's going to seep in. He's going to be confronted with that. And so when I looked at conservatives and the way Brave Books also, and they agreed with this, they said, conservatives have just kind of ceded this space and said, look, we're going to just pass it off. And hey, we've got jobs, we've got things to do. We don't need to worry about that. It's just kid stuff, whatever. And there was this idea that, even if you were indoctrinated and inculcated in this indoctrination of the left all the way through your schooling and then your college, that the campus crazy would at least go away when you entered the real world and you entered the workforce and you were, gobsmacked by reality, mugged by reality, to use the Buckleyan line, right? But that's not what happened, right? It just that process didn't work, that autopilot kind of idea that conservatives had for so long. And so the campus crazies became the corporate crazies and the military crazies and everything else on and down the line. And conservatives for so long were not even looking at this. They were just completely ceding the battle space. And I do look at it as at least an information battle space. Again, Navy officer, right? So they came and they said, look, we just want to focus on not even beating people over the head with these preachy issues. And you just showed the art, and I appreciate it because I like the art. I think the art is great. I said to them, look, I don't want to be doing something where it's like Jack Posobiec walks on and says, well, kids, today we're going to talk about communism. Isn't that going to be great? They said, no. Real story, real characters. There's a fox named Asher, and he's selling ice cream in his little village. And then a group of wolves come up and they say, don't buy ice cream from that guy. That guy's charging you an arm and a leg. Well, we'll give it to you for free. In fact, we've got a whole island of free ice cream if you guys want to just come to our island. And then, of course, you can see where it goes from there. They get to the island and there is free ice cream, but of course, it's not for you. It's just for the wolves. And then you're just working for the wolves, and you might make a little gruel or something. And then the island has sort of a, like a Berlin Wall around it. So it's sort of East Germany meets Cuba meets communist China sort of thing.
What I like about it, Jack, is you're sort of taking the traditional fairy tale in which you have villains, bad guys, right? And except in this case, it's sort of the socialist. And you point out that the socialist is a bad guy, not just because his idealism goes wrong, because there are many conservatives, socialism doesn't work because in the end, it doesn't know how to transmit information or blah, blah, blah. But you're saying, no, you've got some very cunning characters, these wolves. They actually want to have all the benefits for themselves. They want to create a two-tier society society with the wolves on the top. So in a sense, you're doing a version of Animal Farm, I would say.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but you're doing it with an original twist, and you're teaching a really important lesson. And also, what I like about it is there's just a single lesson in the book. You're not trying to give them the wealth of nations, and you're trying to take one point and you drive it home. But you do it in a kind of a mischievously cunning way.
Yeah, the idea is, it's the Milton Friedman line, but for kids, right? There's no such thing as free ice cream, right? So yeah, there's no such thing as free ice cream. And just to say that to kids, and then there's a little section in the back where it's a Q&A, and they sort of have I have some quotes that I wrote out for it. But then it's also a way, because we're working actually with educators, we're working with homeschool networks to actually get this as part of the curriculum in various states to get it approved. We're working with Christian networks as well, homeschool pods. Like I'm Catholic in our home parish, we do the homeschool pod. So to be able to introduce these, and when I say it's a series, so mine, of course, it's communism. And they said, because they came to me and they said, well, Jack, what's something you don't like? And I said, communism, right? So, I'm Polish, my wife's from the Soviet Union. So yeah, of course, that's top of my head. You asked me about something, but we also have one that's the first one that actually came out was on it's on gender studies. And that one, I think it has a better title. It's called Elephants Aren't Birds. You can see where that goes with that. And then the second one is Little Lives Matter. That's going to be all about pro-life issues. And then Dan Crenshaw has one coming out later this month, and that's all about cancel culture. And what's great is that within the stories, there's sort of a shared Marvel universe kind of thing where maybe the villains kind of work together. You might see a villain from one shows up in another, or one of the heroes from one will show up in another to aid, something. There's a little bit in there. There's actually an elephant that shows up to help the fox in my book, but that elephant is the main character of book one. So you see, and then for kids, so yeah, there's like a map that you can actually get that lays out the whole. I mean, it's really well thought out in terms of the world building. It's kind of like the Chronicles of Narnia or Lord of the Rings. Where you have the map? Yeah,
I have your map. It's awesome.
You have the map. Oh, yeah, I'm
going to sort of unfurl the map a little bit here because it's it's doing it in a small scale what Tolkien did. Is it creates a little world, and that's what you're talking about, a world that kids can live in. The other thing I like is that at the end of the book, you talk about, games that kids can play off of the themes in the book. And it's, I remember when you mentioned what's so great about Christianity, when I wrote that book, the publisher goes, did you do a study guide? And I was like, are you kidding, study guide? And they're like, no, people who read a book in Bible study, they like to have a study guide with a bunch of questions. Exactly. And so it looks like what's nice is you and the publishers of this book have thought about this and have developed a whole schema, an educational schema for young people. So Jack, congratulations. It's really awesome. The book is called The Island of Free Ice Cream. And just before we get started,
I got to do this. I got to put you on the spot. I think that you should join. I think that you should do one of the books. I think you've definitely got a kid's book in you. I can see it. I can see it. What would you want your topic to be? What do you think?
Well, my wife says here, I'm a former kindergarten teacher, Debbie, so I think she likes the idea, and maybe with her help, I could actually pull it off. So,
well, I was able to do it because I'm actually a former child myself, so I was able to figure out what kids might be.
Well, let me leave you with I will just ask you to have your people contact my people so the negotiations can resume. Jack, thanks for coming on. It's a real pleasure. Great to have you.
Thanks so much. God bless, guys.
Bye.